Welcome back, everyone, to the podcast for young accounting professionals and accounting students. This week, on episode 3, I got to talk with Anna McLaughlin. She is a forensic accounting student at Embry-Riddle in Prescott, Arizona. We got to talk a little bit about what forensic accounting is, how students can get into it, and we talked a lot about LinkedIn and how you can leverage LinkedIn to land jobs and internships. I really enjoyed my conversation with her and got a lot out of it. Got to learn a lot about forensic accounting, which I didn't know very much about. And I hope you can learn a lot and get a lot out of the episode too. As always, please share the podcast with your friends and fellow accounting students. And please let us know how the show's going. Let us know if there's anything specific that you want to hear about in the next couple of episodes. Hope you enjoy episode 3 of Accounting Conversations. Thank you. Welcome everybody to episode 3 of Accounting Conversations. I'm so excited this week to be joined by Anna McLaughlin. I said that right?
Yep, you got it.
Awesome. So excited to be here with her. She is an accounting student at Embry-Riddle in Prescott, Arizona, and she is super interested in forensic accounting. So we're going to get into that. We're going to get into some experiences she's had as an accounting student, and so excited to be here today. Thank you, Anna, so much for being here with me today.
Yeah, of course. I'm super excited to be here, and awesome. This is so cool. I love this podcast. What you're doing here, this is really cool. So thanks for having me here.
Yeah. Do you want to give us a little introduction on, where you're at as a student, what year you are, what you're studying, and how you ended up at Embry-Riddle?
Yeah, of course. So I am currently a senior at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Prescott, Arizona. And you may have caught that aeronautical in the name there. Yes, most of the students here are pilots or they're studying to be like aeronautical engineers, but there is actually a forensic accounting program here at Embry-Riddle. This program is specifically forensic accounting, so we actually don't take like tax classes, we don't take like a lot of legal classes. We take specifically auditing, fraud auditing, forensic accounting, white collar crime, things like that. So it is very specifically like forensic accounting and fraud examination based. And that was actually what brought me to Embry-Riddle. Was I found out when I was like 16, I love accounting. I took an accounting class at the local high school and I was like, this is so cool. Like I love accounting. Maybe that sounds weird. I'm sure you get it, but a lot of the friends that I have are like, okay, but hear me out. Accounting is so cool. And I've always been like a CSI kid, total like crime scene investigation, absolutely loved investigations as a kid. And forensic accounting is basically accounting and investigations. It's just combined as a career field. So that was what I wanted to do specifically forensic accounting. Was I love like getting in the nitty gritty of the numbers and looking at all the things, trying to find the money laundering and the Ponzi schemes and all that fun stuff. So that was why I chose forensic accounting. And so far, this semester is my last semester, and we're doing all kinds of fun stuff. Right now, I'm taking like fraud auditing, and we're actually going through bank statements from real FBI cases that happened in the past and looking to see, can we find signs of money laundering? Can we find signs of like the Ponzi schemes? Things like that. My capstone is also incredible. It's actually a little different from what we've done in the past in that we're looking a lot at auditing internal controls. So we're looking at like what kind of authorizations does a company have that makes it so that like checks can be signed or things like that. And that's a really interesting part of like forensic accounting that I haven't gotten to see yet. So that's about where I'm at with forensic accounting and Embry-Riddle in my degree program.
Oh my goodness. So I've learned very little about forensic accounting so far, and I haven't heard of a single university that has specifically a forensic accounting program. I've heard of universities offering classes, but never a full-blown university that, has a program centered around it. So how does that work? Like, can you still get your CPA? Is there a different certification that you're going to end up getting? And, how many students are in your program if that's such a specialized program?
Yes. So to answer the last question first, it is a very specialized program, like you said. There is exactly 54 students in the school in my program. To be
Wow.
fair, yeah, so it's pretty small. Embry-Riddle is already a pretty small university. We only have about 3,700 students on the Prescott campus. They have another campus in Daytona that I think has closer to 9 or 10,000. But in general, a lot of our majors are considered small majors. But so we have only 54, so we are a pretty tight-knit group. We do a lot of work together, a lot of studying, a lot of playing together as well. So that's a really cool aspect of Embry-Riddle and this degree program is like the community that we have, that we all kind of work together to solve our accounting problems. And what was the second part of your question again?
So, like, do you still have plans to get your CPA? Is there a
Yes.
different certification you're going to get? How does that work with forensic accounting in the program you're in?
Yeah, so for CPA, I haven't looked a whole lot into it. I know the requirements are a little bit different depending on what state you're going to, but we are still qualified to sit for the CPA. In fact, they say that if you do a minor, you are actually qualified to sit for the CPA. You have 150 credits when you graduate. So you don't
Oh,
actually need
wow.
to have a master's or take another program in order to sit for the CPA in that respect. And we do still have all of the core accounting classes, like financial, managerial, intermediate, all of those good, fun core accounting classes. So we are still qualified in that respect. Another certification that I'm actually looking at because of my specific interest in forensic accounting is the Certified Fraud Examiner's credential. And that one doesn't have a super strict degree requirement, not like the CPA, but it is definitely more focused on forensic accounting. You are specifically like certified to search out and to investigate fraud cases. And that's something that that's my end goal is to get the CFE. I would love to have the CPA as well, but specifically the CFE is another one I'm looking at. Another one that I found just recently is the anti-money laundering certification, which I think is really cool. Basically, that certification is how do you find, how do you stop, and how do you prevent money laundering?
That is so cool. I mean, there's got to be so many cool things that you're going to be able to go do and work with law enforcement and state and federal governments with this. That's so interesting and so cool. So, I kind of have two questions from things that you said there. Questions I wasn't originally going to ask you. So,
Bonus questions.
so the professors that you have with such a specialized program, were each of them financial accountants, or how do they connect to financial accounting, and how has that affected your experience as an accounting student, being able to have professors like that?
Yeah, so since we are such a small program, we actually do not have a lot of professors for our program. Um, for the upper level, like specifically the fraud classes, we actually have just one professor, and she
Oh,
teaches
wow.
all of our upper level classes, which sounds like a lot, but since there's only 54 of us, she teaches like maybe 3 or 4 a semester. So she's amazing. She's like we call her like our Faffy mom because she just is, yeah, she loves us so much. So her background is actually in audit. So she did auditing with Clifton Allen Larson for a while. Clifton Larson Allen for a while. And then her most recent experience before coming to work at Embry-Riddle was for the government of Wyoming. She did a lot of like government auditing for Wyoming in terms of like different cities and monitoring specifically for like COVID loans. Um, so that was her specific background. She's also done other more like contract work with other organizations. She has some interesting stories about working with like law enforcement, just some very interesting stories that really make my heart like, oh my God, this is so cool. Yeah, so that's her background. We do have other professors that teach us like the lower levels, like financial and managerial. There's one of them that she actually just got her doctorate. in accounting, and her background is definitely more of like financial statement evaluation, and less so of auditing or fraud or forensic accounting. So it's really good to have those different experiences from the professors because they can offer different perspectives, they can offer different stories, they can offer different avenues of other networking opportunities. So that's kind of where we're at there with the professors for Riddle.
That oh, that's so cool. It's so cool to see how interactive and involved the students and professors you're working with are. I think that's something so important with what's happening in accounting right now is with so many students not coming into accounting now and so many people, slapping the label on um oh, like accountants just do taxes or accountants are boring.
Yep.
It's so important to find programs like the one that you're in where everyone is so tight knit and excited about the same thing. I really, really like that. So, kind of backtracking a little bit. So, you took an accounting class in high school, and that's what got you excited about accounting. How did you find forensic accounting? Because, as accounting students at a majority of universities, it's like pushed on you, oh, you're either tax or you're audit.
Right. Yeah.
You have to go to those two paths, and that's it. That's the only way you're going to get the CPA. It's the only way you're going to get experience to be able to do anything else in accounting. How how did you research and find forensic accounting as a high school student and then be able to make your university choice based on the fact that you already knew what you wanted to do? I mean, you took a big shot in the dark. Like, what if I go to
Absolutely.
Embry-Riddle and I don't like forensic accounting,
Well, that was never a concern for me. I knew I was going to love it. But anyhow, to answer your question, so I took the accounting class, and this was just like an actual basic, like financial accounting. Like we were doing debits and credits and T charts and all those fun core basics of accounting in this class. The high school that I was at had a career fair, or like a college fair, I guess. And they had colleges from all around the United States come to recruit seniors from the high school. And Embry-Riddle was one of them. They were recruiting more for their security and intelligence studies program. But as I mentioned earlier, I was like total CSI kid, like absolutely loved investigations. And I'd gotten a lot more into like intelligence and wanting to be like a spy and things like that. So of course I was like drawn to their intelligence program. So I went home and looked them up and did a little bit more research, and I was like, they have a forensic accounting program too. And so that's how I found Embry-Riddle. I'm actually a transfer to Riddle. I went to First Green River College, which is a community college near where I lived, and got my AA there, and then came over to Riddle as a transfer student. So I got to also have a lot more of the like basic accounting classes. That was a AA in business. So I did a lot of like the general like intro to business, financial accounting there. And that was good to have that experience as opposed to like strictly forensic accounting as well, because it set a really good basis for eventually getting my CPA, kind of understanding what the different accounting professions are in terms of, tax and audit and things like that as well.
That's awesome. Well, hats off to you for getting to career fairs early and being able to make a choice about your career by being at those career fairs. I mean, a lot of college students even aren't going to career fairs, so it just shows that the
That's true.
earlier you start,
Mm-hmm.
the better off you are going to be. So going to some of your experiences you've had as a leader, or as a student leader and in internships, I see you're currently a tax intern. Are you working busy season right now?
I am. I am indeed working busy season. I processed like 3 returns yesterday, I think,
Oh
over
my
the course of my
gosh.
shift. Yeah. Yep.
So do you want to walk us through some of the experiences you've had as an intern? And something I want to focus on that I think my listeners could get a lot of value from is understanding how they can land those internships. I talk to a lot of students who are trying and trying and trying to land a bookkeeping role or
Mm-hmm.
an entry level tax role. these basic accounting roles that can bring a lot of value to young accounting professionals. How did you land yours, and what recommendations do you have for students who want to land roles like that?
Absolutely. So, a little bit of intro into the roles themselves. So, as you said, I currently work as a tax intern. So, kind of what I do there is mostly 1040s, but I actually do a lot of like bookkeeping things. I do a lot of entering transactions, a lot of like reconciliations, things like that. And then my other internship, I do a lot of moving numbers around on spreadsheets. So, that is a really good one for learning Excel. I've learned so many cool things about Excel in that one. But
So you're
how
doing
I
two
landed,
internships right now
I do. I do currently have two internships right now. Yes.
and going to school full time?
Yeah.
How do you do it?
A lot of caffeine, my friend. A lot of caffeine. Dedication. Dedication. All right. So, how I land at both of those, the main takeaway from this part of, I guess, the podcast is connections. Absolutely. Networking and connections are going to be the key to getting you to a position that you really want to be in. So, for the tax intern position, I actually knew one of the tax managers at the place where I'm doing the internship. She was a graduate of my program at Embry-Riddle. So that was how I kind of got in there, is just having that connection and reaching out to her and being like, hey, I'm looking for something. Do you have anything that I could like work on? Do you have anything like a position that would fit my skill set? And they did, thankfully. My other internship was somewhat similar. I actually met a graduate of my program again at Embry-Riddle at a career fair. And she was like, okay, here is the job number. Here's the application number that you need to submit for. Once you do that, email me and I will bring it to the attention of the HR people there. So definitely connections, connections, connections. And not only that, not just having like connections, but establishing a relationship with them is going to be the most important thing. You don't want to necessarily just have like connections on LinkedIn that you don't talk to. You want to make sure that like you're messaging with people that post frequently, messaging with friends like from a previous workplace or a previous college institution, to really keep in contact with those networking things, with those connections. And also, so, okay, you probably know this. I love LinkedIn. I'm so active on LinkedIn, and really just having like that connection, building your brand on LinkedIn as well is something that has really helped me land internships and land like student leadership positions as well. Like I've been reached out to by other students on campus because of my experience on my LinkedIn profile to fulfill a certain need within their organization. So just keeping up on that and keeping up on your networks and things like that, making sure you're building relationships with the people that you're networking with.
I I'm super passionate about LinkedIn, so I love hearing stories that back up what I already know, that building real relationships, not
Mm-hmm.
just superficial connections where you've made a connection and that's it, but really being able to build a relationship and a friendship makes all the difference. Um,
Absolutely.
um, so, was there anything special that you did with each of those connections you were able to make that helped you land your internship that you feel like really elevated the relationship you were able to build with them? Was it constant contact? Did you go have coffee chats with them? Did you get on phone calls with them? What did that look like?
Absolutely. So it was really just like keeping connected on LinkedIn, making sure like when she posts on LinkedIn, making sure that I'm liking her post, commenting on it, occasionally messaging about the different things that we've got going on. Unfortunately, at least for my RTX internship, she is in Tucson, so coffee chats is a little bit out of the way to go. That's about 4 hours away from where I live.
Yeah.
And then my current boss at SC Audit and Accounting, she's also super busy currently because it is tax season, my friends. So currently what a lot of what we do is like keeping connected on LinkedIn. Like I said, I have their phone numbers, so we do text every once in a while, just hey, how's it going, checking in, things like that. And that is a really crucial piece. I would think probably my biggest like advice for other accounting students, other accounting interns, and people looking to get jobs in the accounting industry. Just keep connected. Relationships, relationships, relationships. Anything that you can do to just even if it's not like business related, like just say hi every once in a while, message them and be like, hey, how's it going? I was thinking about you today and, just want to check out how you're doing, how the job's going, things like that. So that would be my biggest thing for other accounting students is relationships.
I love it. I love it. I think there is a huge opportunity for students who use LinkedIn and use it the
Absolutely.
right way. And just
Absolutely.
like you've showed us your great example, you can land jobs and land internships by being active on LinkedIn and commenting and posting and building a personal brand. It really does matter.
It really does.
So back to some of the other experiences you've had. You've also been, I saw that you were a treasurer for the governing student body at your
Hmm.
previous institution. Is that correct?
That's actually still at Embry-Riddle. That was just last school year. Crazy
Oh,
enough.
okay.
Time flies. Yeah, absolutely.
And
So, mhm.
and so what was that like, and what experiences were you able to get that helped you develop as kind of a team player in having a role like that?
Yeah, so a little bit of background for student government at Embry-Riddle. We have 12 positions. We have the four main exec positions. We have four rep positions for each of the four different colleges within Embry-Riddle, the College of Aviation, of Engineering, so on. And then we have four other rep positions, like we have two student life reps, and then we have a director of marketing and a director of an organizational rep, excuse me. So working within a team is definitely something that I learned working on council. There's a lot of different like personalities on council. There's a lot of different goals and a lot of different projects that have to take place in addition to making sure that we are doing the best we possibly can to represent the student body, to like higher administration, and making sure that their needs are met in terms of each of our respective roles. So that was definitely a learning experience in terms of interpersonal communication and working on teams. What I did as treasurer was I managed a lot of the club funding. So we have about 186 clubs on campus, which is a good chunk.
That's a
And
lot.
yeah, it's especially for a small university. It's a lot of clubs on campus, and each club has the opportunity to get a certain amount of funding from student government each semester for anything that they need for like supplies, for things for their events, anything that they need. And that was my job as part of the student government, was to make sure that that funding was being addressed, make sure that it was being conducted as fairly as possible. And I would have to say the accounting thing that I learned the most from this position was actually budget development, which I think is a very interesting part of accounting that a lot of students don't get to see because, budget development comes from, CFO, CEO, things like that. But I was responsible for developing the student government budget for each of the semesters that I was a part of student government. And that was something that was really interesting. I got to do a lot of like horizontal analysis as well and use my skills that I had gotten in class to be able to tell like, okay, so we spent more this semester on this thing, so we need to probably up it for next semester, so on, so on. And that was a really interesting experience to apply a more like niche part of accounting, I guess, as opposed to the bookkeeping skills that I use every day in my current internship.
I love that. I loved managerial accounting, and I'm in cost accounting now, and budgets were one of my favorite parts. And seeing you be able to make that connection between your projected budget and your actual budget and having to make changes, it's such a testament that getting experience in student leadership in accounting outside of class really
Absolutely.
makes a difference in bridging that gap between real world accounting and, student understanding of accounting. So I absolutely love
Absolutely.
that. What are your career goals? So you talked a little bit about becoming a CFE.
Hmm.
Do you want to work for the government? Do you want to go work for the CIA? What do you what's your end goal as an accountant?
Yeah, so that's a little bit, it kind of depends on, I guess, where life takes me. In general, what I know I want to do is I want to do fraud consulting. So ideally, after I do all of my years of experience, as like a bookkeeper or an auditor, in general, whatever comes my way in that respect, after that, I would like to start my own business as a fraud consultant. And ideally, what that looks like is I go to companies, both like large companies and also small companies. I would love to do it for small companies because it breaks my heart when small companies are victims of fraud, especially like insider fraud it just breaks my heart. So something that a fraud consultant does is look at like internal controls or look at current accounting structures and help the leaders of the company to prevent fraud before it happens, and also make it so that detecting fraud is a lot easier to make recommendations on what controls should be put in place to prevent and detect fraud from occurring, especially insider fraud. So that's really something that I would love to do. That's something that I guess I feel called to do. It's just captured my attention as a possible avenue for a career. So for like large companies, probably what I would mostly be doing as a fraud consultant would be taking a look at one of the higher risk areas, such as accounting, actually, or sales or something like that, and making recommendations as to what they can improve to mitigate the opportunities for fraud that occur. So, like, recommending separation of duties as something that they can implement a little bit better to prevent people from like writing checks and cashing checks. For small businesses, really would be all over like what can I do to help them be safer in terms of fraud.
I love that. And it in that role as a business owner, you would be able to help advise and add value to your clients. And I think that's a disconnect that us students have. Education focuses so much on the do's and don'ts of accounting and on all the rules that need to be followed, right? Like all of our financial accounting classes are focusing on GAAP. And how are we following GAAP? It's all about compliance.
Right.
But I think there's a whole other side to accounting, that tax, audit, bookkeeping, and now even forensic accounting, where you can be in a position to really advise your clients and add value to them. And I personally think that's where the future of accounting is, in being able to advise and help our clients. We have such a special and specialized knowledge as accountants, and I think we should use that to help business owners and build up their businesses. And in your case, make their businesses safer and more fraud proof. And over a career, you will have made an actual difference for people and not just checked boxes. So I love that you have your sights on helping people and adding value to your clients. That's something really special and something I wish more of us had. Where do you think the future of accounting is going? I don't know how much, as a student at Embry-Riddle, you guys talk about the pipeline issue and talk about the amount of accountants that we're going to need to be able to keep up with the demand of accounting. Where do you think the future of accounting is going, and how can we as young professionals best take advantage of the opportunity that we have?
Absolutely. So, in the near future of accounting, especially for upcoming students, there's a huge shortage of accountants. We actually don't talk a whole lot about this. My upper level accounting professor does because she's very still involved in the industry, but there's a huge shortage of accountants in every field of accounting. And that's going to be something that young accounting students can really capitalize on because they'll have skills that are in high demand. Something else that I think is really important to realize is that there's a lot of accounting tasks that are very manual, like entering transactions, reconciliations, things like that. And there is a lot of softwares that are being developed that we can actually use to do those tasks for us. So going back to kind of what you said about the like adding value to clients, they pay us, I suppose, to enter their transactions, to do all of those things. But I think what we should be doing more in the future as accountants is adding value to their business, is serving more as advisors and less as like just doing their books. A lot of business owners, we have a lot of small business owners at my current internship as a tax intern. And so they pay us to do their accounting because they don't know how. Or that's something that is just, as a business owner, that's not their expertise. So something that we need to be doing in that respect is not just like taking their bank statements and putting them into QuickBooks, but advising them on things, on issues that we see, or advising them on where we see that they could possibly go next in terms of their business profitability. So that's, I think, the future of accounting is currently there's a shortage, so skills are going to be in high demand. Technology skills are going to be in high demand as well, because as young students, it's often assumed that we know a lot about technology, and usually they're correct. And that's something that a lot of older accountants may not have grasped yet. So being up on all the technology, QuickBooks Online, all that cool stuff that helps us to do our jobs better and faster is also something that is really important for young accountants to realize. And I think in the future, using that technology will allow us to be able to add value to our companies and to the businesses that we serve. In general, they teach us a lot about adding value to our employer. In accounting degrees, they teach us, what skills do you have that you can offer an employer? But I really agree with you. I really think that we need to shift the focus, maybe not entirely away from, but at least closer to what value can we as accountants, which with a very specific set of skills, what value can we offer to our clients, to business owners, to friends, anything like that, especially when it comes to forensic accounting, which is a really new field, and a lot of people don't know a lot about it. And that's really keeping people safe from fraud, keeping companies safe from fraud. So that's a very long-winded answer for, I think the future of accounting currently is a shortage, and then skills will be in demand. And there's also a huge amount of technology that's going to come up and going to make our jobs easier and faster and help us do it better so that we can move towards advisors of businesses.
Yep, I love it. QuickBooks Online is already starting to integrate AI into
I love
what they're
QuickBooks
working
Online.
with. So it's really exciting to see where it can take us. Who knows, in a few years we might have AI that can reconcile books without us. Maybe we're just going in and checking and making sure it reconciled. So just two last questions for you. If students want to learn more about forensic accounting, where do you recommend that they look? Are there any specific firms that they should look into learning more about and maybe networking with some of those people? What resources do you recommend?
Yeah, so actually, there is an organization called the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. And that is a global organization of fraud fighters. So if you're interested in learning about forensic accounting, fraud examination, even like auditing, anything like that, that's your place to go. They have a lot of webinars for members, which student members, it's only $25 a year to have access to all of the information that the ACFE provides. And they have a lot of webinars for members that are completely free. They take about an hour. And a lot of the recent topics they've had have been like generative AI in fraud and forensic accounting. They've had a lot about like leveraging AI in your day-to-day tasks as an accountant. So that's a really good opportunity to sort of learn about like what forensic accounting is, what fraud is, and also the careers that are available in that. So I think that's going to be the number one place to go. And also making sure, I don't know, I love LinkedIn. So I always recommend, using LinkedIn to your best possible ability. So follow the ACFE on LinkedIn, follow the John Gill, the president of the ACFE on LinkedIn, all that fun stuff. Use LinkedIn as well to join groups that are about, business analytics for fraud, that are about like machine learning for fraud, all of that cool stuff, just forensic accounting in general. There's so many groups available on LinkedIn that have active members that post frequently. So that's something that I would definitely recommend, is use LinkedIn to your advantage. It's there for you to use in terms of growing your career and growing your knowledge. So definitely that's a good resource too.
Great advice. I will leave the link in the show notes for the group of CFE. What was the name of the association again?
Yep, the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners.
Okay, perfect. So I'll leave that link below if anybody wants to check that out. And then, so last question here. If you had one piece of advice you would give to young accounting students who are just starting out, what would that advice be, and how can they implement it in their daily life?
Oh no, just one? Oh, let's see. I would have to say get involved with other accountants. And that's intentionally broad, so I can take two avenues with it: student leadership and also online. So get involved with other accountants at your college. Start a club. Maybe that sounds nerdy, but I started an accounting club on this campus, and we all love it. We all come, we all just hang out and talk about accounting things. So start a club on campus, join a club that is for accounting students, and learn about current accounting issues that you can bring to your members, and you can all discuss and talk about and get different perspectives. That also has the advantage of that if you don't understand something like an intermediate accounting, but there's a good chance someone else does. So it's a really easy way to integrate like studying together into your accounting classes. The other part of that is interfacing or networking with accountants online. So there's a lot of people that are accountants, and there's a lot of people that are accountants who post about what they do on LinkedIn, who offer advice to young accountants, and post generally like informational things about accounting on LinkedIn. So that's something, follow them, interact with their posts, ask questions, all that stuff. They're putting themselves out there as resources for you to be able to learn more about their field. And they're experts in their field. Some of them own businesses, so take advantage of that while you can.
I love that. A theme of this whole thing has been that getting active on LinkedIn and using it the right way really can help us specifically as accountants to take advantage of all the opportunities we've been given. Well, Anna, thank you so much for joining me today. You are so busy, and I really appreciate you taking a little bit of your time to help add value to younger accounting students and help them along in their journey. If people want to follow you on LinkedIn, is that the best place that they can find you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm pretty obsessed with LinkedIn. So you follow me and you'll hear right back from me.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate your time again. Thank you so much to everyone who's listening. We really appreciate you taking the time to listen, and we hope we've brought a little bit of value to each of you. Please reach out to me on LinkedIn or via email and let me know what you think of the podcast. Let me know if there's anything you want to hear or anything that we should change. And I look forward to recording another episode for you guys next week. So have a great day, and thank you so much.